To make your 3D scenes look their best, you'll need to understand what's happening with the various new 3D material properties. So let's take a look at a scene I just created for Total Training Online. Here we see a curved wall of Adobe CS6 icons sitting atop a stage, which is a simple vector shape that I've extruded and rotated 90 degrees. And there's a backdrop, which is just a simple plane with a gradient applied to it to simulate a column of light. And I want to see our boxes and backdrop reflected in the stage, but in a semi-realistic way. If we just crank up the reflection intensity, we'll get a mirrored effect, but that's not what a stage floor looks like. Even set to 50%, it creates a better lit result, but the reflections are obviously fake. A stage floor can be shiny, but unless it's super highly polished or wet, its shininess will be more diffuse. We can control that with the reflection sharpness value. The smaller the value, the blurrier the reflection. In our case, a value of about 80 looks right to me. And in the real world, reflections aren't absolute. They vary based on the amount of light and distance and even the density of the atmosphere. We can't control all of those things, but we can simulate some of it with the reflection roll-off control. As I crank it up, you see that the bright reflections at the back of the stage stay prominent, but the darker reflections at the sides of the stage become more subtle, giving us a more pleasant result. As for these last properties, related to transparency, let me turn on our monolith layer to reveal a large metallic blob in the middle of the stage, with some reflections already turned on. But I don't want this to be a big bronze lozenge. I want it to be a big tank of water. So I want to adjust our transparency setting to about 50%, revealing that we can see through the monolith now. But there's no distortion like you would get with a transparent solid like a tank of water. For that we need to adjust the index of refraction. This ranges from a value of 1, which gives no distortion, up to 5, which gives us basically the same refraction you would get from solid glass or water. The more we crank this up, the more distortion we see. And the transparency roll-off adjustment is subtle, but it lets you diminish the refraction when the angle of the object gets too steep, as we see around the edges of our cylinder. Obviously, this is an artistic process, and you'll tweak these settings as you fine-tune the look of your scene. But with only a little time and a few tweaks, we're on our way towards a satisfying-looking final composition.